power of listening, the course, and what you took away from the two courses, is we do a little role play for people watching, because this has been coming up over and over again, is how we interrupt each other on a regular basis. I'm not saying you and me, I'm saying just in general. People are...
We're going to talk about me overriding you. I mean, why in the world would you want to do something like that?
I think because we have to bring it to light so that people recognize their own behavior. So that was very good impromptu. So I'm going to share with you a little bit about something that happened today. This is actually true. And then I want you to just continuously interrupt me. Are you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I found out today that I scheduled the shows based on Eastern Standard Time instead of UK time. And then people in the UK were thinking that the shows were starting at a different time than they really were. So I had to go and then move all of the shows to a different time than the time that I was moving, than they were originally scheduled for. So that meant that I had to change all of the broadcasts, and I had to change all the social media, and it really was daunting.
That's a bummer.
Yes, it really is a bummer. So I want you to keep interrupting me. Are you ready?
Oh yeah, that's not difficult.
Okay. Okay, so I contacted the first group of people, and they said, "Well, it's still the UK time, where it's an hour difference there."
Yeah, it's they were on UK time rather than were they on UK time or European time?
They're on UK time, and now all the shows were out of sync and alignment because of the fact that I had the timing wrong, because I didn't know about the daylight savings time. So it made for a very...
It's in the US. That happens this Sunday. Well, you had to know that. I mean, it's something that's germane to this conversation. At least I thought it was.
Yes, there it is. Nicely done. So, how does it feel to be the one who's interrupting? As the interrupter, how do you feel? Does it feel good to interrupt?
Oh, sometimes you feel superior, but in fact, it shows you're not listening. Hello.
Exactly. And for me, I actually felt like a little pain in my chest. Like I felt like just disrespected. And this happens all the time, that people are constantly interrupting one another. Now, one thing I just want to spotlight, I just want to say, as someone who interviews people, I don't like to interrupt, but there are times when it happens regularly. People they'll talk for 8, 9, 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. And they're not really listening. They're not paying attention, because in the beginning, I instruct them that it has to be a back and forth, a give and take. So, Hiett, as an elevated listener and a graduate, what are some of the things that you have taken away from the power of listening that you've been able to put into your real life?
Stop and think and refrain from interrupting. It makes the conversation go far more effectively, and the level of trust that we have on both sides is greatly enhanced when I recognize the speaker and let them speak. I have been a part of some of those conversations where you have refrained from interrupting, and I have been amazed at how well you do that, because you're at a higher level than I am, because I would have interrupted far sooner than you did and do.
Thank you. It really is a learned skill, believe it or not. And it does take a lot of patience and practice. And I feel like a lot of that has to do with the self-development work that I've done with meditation and yoga. And I also realized that I don't have all the answers, so I don't have to be talking all the time. I'd rather be listening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you and I have been part of conversations on Zooms like this with people that are very knowledgeable and will give us willingly of their knowledge. However, they sometimes give it to us, 2 pounds in a 1 pound bag. You know, we we ask for a little, and they give us far more than we asked for, or is germane to the particular subject at hand. Um, and it gets difficult to stay calm and stay focused and allow them to do their thing uh, to a point. But at some point, it does require um, the the MC, if you will, to keep things on target and on track. It's a fine, there's a fine line there, as you well know.
Yes, I would agree with that. Now, Hiett, as a Toastmaster and someone who does a lot of networking, do you recall ever being at an event where it's the same people who have to constantly speak, or they want to present, or they have to ask the question? I remember that from my corporate job, and I basically just decided I wasn't going to say anything because the same people were always the ones who had to have the floor. Have you ever had this experience?
Uh, yeah, and again, I referenced some of the meetings that we've been in. There are some people that I don't think they mean to dominate it, uh, but some people, because they want to be generous and because they want to share as much as they possibly can, they overshare. It's one of the. I'm going to paraphrase one of my favorite Churchillian quotes. One of the greatest one of the most difficult things to do is stand up and speak, and the equally difficult is to sit down and shut up.
I love that. That's really good. Now, I'm going to put something out there. I'm going to propose this, and I want you to think about it and see if it makes sense as an elevated listener. This is not personally, but as an elevated listener. Is it possible that the person or persons who constantly have to have the floor or have to take an excessive amount of time, that maybe they actually are speaking through ego or through insecurity and are trying to be validated?
Yes, and yes. Um, and that's unfortunate because in many cases they are very knowledgeable and they can give us what we ask for or what they're trying to give us in a far more succinct um, format, and you almost, I won't say feel sorry for them, but you say to yourself, come on, they've been doing this long enough that they ought to be able to shorten this. In fact, I've found myself truncating what I say. I'd much prefer somebody say, well, elaborate a little bit more on that, rather than Hiett, we need to move on, and that's part of the listening.
Yes, I do love that. Right. Give people enough information that they start asking questions and they really are interested, as opposed to dumping everything that you possibly can. And then they're like, what? I have to get away from this person. So that's a great learning.
Yeah, and I've the use of Zoom is has enhanced my ability to do that, because one, you can see the reaction of people, and they don't know you're looking directly at them. You've got a screen of 6, 8, 10 people up there, but you can scan it, and if you see that one or two of the decision makers or one of the two of the people that you're trying to influence, look um, disinterested or bored or whatever uh, thing that is not appropriate to what you're doing, when you are observant of that, you can say, okay, I said enough, or I need to, do something differently. Uh, and best thing is to just stop and let somebody else pick up the mantle.
Really good points, Hiett. Thank you so much. Before we sign off for today, I would love to spotlight you and have you share with us the work that you're doing and how you're bringing value to the world.
Well, I am a business coach. I am an author of two books in the two areas that I love. One is That Ain't Not Right, the Use and Abuse of the English Language. I love to help people improve their use of the English language. And the other is 88 Successful Event Strategies, Business to Business Trade Show Marketing. That's an area of authority. That's one of those, please don't throw me in a briar patch deals. So I am looking for companies, individuals who want to enhance their communication tools and have trade shows, business to business trade shows that guarantee them qualified leads.
Well stated. Thank you so much, Hiett. And again, I want to congratulate you on investing in your personal and professional development and letting the world know that you are an elevated listener. Hiett is someone who has taken the time to look at his own behavior when it comes to listening, and he's incorporated some of the tools that we have discussed. And I'm really proud of you, Hiett. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Doctor.
I'll see you again soon.
Great. Thank you, man.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
I just want everyone to know how important it is to me for people to actually take the time to learn how to listen. And again, I have 18 to 20 shows a week. And what I find is that sometimes people like to come on and it's like a monologue. It's like the whole show is just about them giving information. And that's how life is outside of a platform like this. One person maybe is the one who's always speaking and the other person feels like they're not heard. So there has to be a value for value exchange where both parties, whether it's personally or professionally, feel like they're being heard. If you would like to learn how to listen, if you would like to watch role plays that you might even look at and say, oh, that looks very familiar. I think we just had this kind of conversation in our house today. Then I would love to have you sign up for the power of listening. You can go over to Eventbrite and you can just put in the power of listening. We have 4 courses. Our goal is to have 6 altogether. The first 2 are the foundational courses, where after you take parts 1 and 2, you can take a quiz. And if you get 100 on the quiz, then you can get a certification. Parts 3 and 4 focus on breath and voice. So I work with Madeline Chan, who is an award-winning international singer and songwriter. And that one is really tapping into your emotions. And we've had people, as Daphne mentioned on the last show, we've had people who have had major breakthroughs, literally tears, or people have realized that there was something they were keeping inside of themselves, that they weren't even listening to their own tuition. So once again, you can go over to Eventbrite. I finally found the banner. And you can also email me, Jacalyn at drjacalyn.com. Book your ticket and just go over to Eventbrite, search for the power of listening. Thank you again for being here. We have another show right after this. I'll be back shortly. Thank you. Thanks, Hiett.